Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into a practical and insightful topic: direct purchase orders with expected landed cost. This process helps businesses not only to manage procurement, but also anticipate the full cost management of the product. Let's begin with the agenda of today's session. We will walk through the concept of direct purchase orders, explore how expected landed costs are integrated, and understand the system setup and follow-up processes that support direct purchase order with expected landed cost process within Onfinity. The objective of this session is to make you able to understand the direct purchase orders with the expected landed cost and its associated terms in the context of business processes. Also, it enables you to test the direct purchase orders with expected landed cost in the context of business requirements. Next, we have the prerequisites. Before we get into the detail, let's make sure the essentials are in place. You will need the access to the Onfinity platform with a valid user ID and password. Onfinity basic setup and master data setup configuration must be completed and available. Now, let's explore the direct purchase order with expected landed cost use case. We'll walk through a real-world example to better understand how this works in Onfinity ERP. Sonic Ventures needs smartphones for new employees to support mobile communication and business apps. Procurement team directly places a purchase order for 5 Samsung Galaxy S, 22 and 10 Redmi Note 10 with Brighttech Innovations. During the purchase order creation, the procurement team fills the expected cost tab, which includes estimated freight charges. This helps to maintain the total cost of ownership for the order. Brighttech Innovations confirm and process the order. Brighttech Innovations ships the smartphone to the Sonic Ventures. Upon receiving the smartphones, Sonic Ventures creates a goods receipt note to acknowledge the receipt of the smartphones. This GRN references the original purchase order. Finally, the finance team process the invoice to ensure that the invoice is matched against the PO and GRN, validating quantity and price accuracy. Next, let's look at the process flow for a direct purchase order with expected landed cost process. Here's a quick overview. The process begins with the creation of a direct purchase order, where expected landed cost details are entered up front. Once the goods are received and verified through the GRN, the system updates the product cost by adding the expected landed costs to the base purchase price. After that, the process continues with the creation of AP invoices. This flow ensures full transparency and accuracy in both purchase order procurement and financial reporting. Now that we understand the overall process, let's take a look at the basic masters involved in this process. To record a direct purchase order with expected landed cost, there are some master which must be available in the system. To begin with, you'll need to ensure that the following master data elements are properly configured for this process to run smoothly. Vendor. This is the supplier from whom you're purchasing goods or services, product or charge, the item you're buying, or any additional cost component like freight or duty. Attribute and set instance. These define specific characteristics of the product, such as size, color, or batch. Unit of measure determines how the product is quantified, such as pieces, kilograms, or liters. Currency, the transaction currency used for pricing and invoicing. Price list, a predefined list that contains product prices for purchasing or selling. Payment term, specifies when payment is due, such as 30 days from invoice. Payment method, defines how the payment will be made, for example, via bank transfer or check. Warehouse, the storage location where goods will be received and managed. If you'd like a deeper understanding of each of these master setups, you can refer to their dedicated training modules available in our training repository. Now that we have a basic understanding of the process, let's move into Onfinity ERP system and walk through each step in the system. To get started, open the Onfinity ERP URL in your browser. On the login screen, enter your user ID and password. Once you've entered your credentials, click on the Login button to access the system. After logging in, you'll land on the Onfinity homepage. Here, you'll see a set of interactive widgets, referred to as mosaics in Onfinity. These mosaics provide quick access to key charts, KPIs, and dashboards. They can be customized based on your role or specific business needs, helping you gain real-time insights and perform quick analysis. At this stage, we need to create a direct purchase order. To begin, navigate to the menu utility at the top of the screen. From here, you can either use the menu search utility to look for purchase order, or go to Procurement Management, then select the Purchase Order module. Clicking on Purchase Order will take you to the Purchase Order screen landing page. A purchase order is used to initiate the procurement cycle. It represents a formal agreement between the buyer and the seller, capturing all relevant details such as the items, quantities, pricing, and terms involved in the transaction. On the purchase order landing page, you'll see a variety of mosaics, the same ones we've already discussed in previous sessions. As covered earlier, these mosaics offer useful filters and actions to manage purchase orders efficiently. For example, you can use filters like Advanced Search, Warehouse, Document Status, or Vendor to narrow down the records based on specific criteria. You'll also see the option to generate PO from SO. This feature allows you to directly create a purchase order based on an existing sales order, a process often used in drop shipment scenarios. If you'd like to explore that flow in detail, please refer to the dedicated training session on sales order to purchase order or drop shipment process. Below that, you'll find Key Performance Indicators or KPIs. One such KPI shows the number of open purchase orders that are pending receipt into your warehouse. You'll also see the due order and expected order mosaics, both of which display open purchase orders for which the receipt has not yet been created. The key difference between them lies in the promised date of the order. The due order mosaic shows purchase orders where the promised date has already passed. The expected order mosaic displays orders with a promised date that is either today or in the future. From both mosaics, you can directly initiate the GRN creation process, helping streamline the receipt of goods. You can also analyze purchase order records using the charts available on the landing page. These charts provide valuable insights into monthly procurement trends, purchase values by vendor, and spending by product category, supporting more strategic decision-making and reporting. To create a new purchase order, click on the New Record mosaic. This opens the purchase order screen in single record view, where you can begin entering the required details. The first field is organization. If a default organization is already linked to your user login, it will appear automatically. Otherwise, you'll need to select the appropriate organization. This indicates where the transaction is being created. Next, select the target document type. This defines the type of transaction you're processing. In this case, we're creating a standard purchase order, so we'll select the purchase order as document type. If the purchase order is being created based on a reference, such as a contract or quotation, you may specify that in the order reference field next, we have the date ordered, which captures the date on which this purchase order is being created. Then, there's the date promised field. This represents the date by which the vendor has committed to deliver the goods. It helps in tracking delivery timelines and managing follow-ups. In the vendor field, simply enter or select the vendor from whom the products or services are being procured. Upon selecting the vendor, other related details, such as invoice to business partner, vendor location, invoice to location, vendor contact, and invoice to contact are automatically populated. In addition to that, fields such as price list, payment term, and payment method are also fetched from the vendor setup. If the transaction involves currency conversion, you can specify a currency rate type. This determines how the system calculates the exchange rate. Details on defining and managing currency rates and rate types are covered in Currency Rate Type dedicated session. Here, you'll find different types of currency rate types, including average, company, period end, and spot. Each type defines how the exchange rate is calculated for transactions involving foreign currency. Next, select the warehouse where you expect to receive the items. For this example, let's proceed with the Sonic Venture Warehouse. Now, let's save the header by clicking on the Save Record button. This allows us to proceed with entering the product lines. We'll return to the Expected Landed Cost Details tab shortly. Once the product lines are added, you can use this tab to input the corresponding landed cost components. Simply click on the tab button to navigate. The Order Tax tab will be updated automatically once tax is applied to the line items. There's also a Payment Schedule tab, which we'll cover in detail in an upcoming session, especially in scenarios where a purchase order involves advance payments. In such cases, this tab will reflect the scheduled payment breakdown accordingly. Now, let's move to the Lines tab by clicking on the Lines tab button. Here, we'll begin adding the items we want to procure. Click on New Record to open the line entry screen in Single Record view. In the Product field, select the item you wish to order. For this example, let's choose Samsung as our first product. Next, enter the quantity. We'll enter 5 units for this item. This product has an attribute associated with it, so we'll need to select the appropriate attribute to proceed. Since we've already used a combination of attributes earlier, we can select the existing attribute set instance from the available records. Click on the existing record, then click OK to confirm the selection. You may be prompted to confirm the attribute once again. Simply click OK to proceed. Now, the price for the selected product is automatically pulled from the price list configured earlier. However, if there's any need to update the pricing, for example, in case of a negotiated rate, you can manually override the price directly on the order line. Now, let's save the first line record. To add the second item, follow the same steps. Click on New Record to open the line entry screen. Select the required product, and then proceed to select the attribute set instance. Since we've already used one of these combinations before, click on Select Existing Record. From the list, choose the correct attribute combination and click OK. You need to confirm the selection again. Simply click OK once more. Next, enter the quantity. For this item, we'll enter 10 units. The price will automatically appear from the price list based on the product setup. If needed, you can also change the price manually. If you'd like to learn how to set product prices in the price list, please refer to the price list training session available in our repository. Once all fields are filled in, click Save Record to add the item to your purchase order. Now, let's return to the header section to enter the expected landed cost. To do that, click on the Expected Landed Cost Details tab button. To navigate to the Expected Landed Cost Details tab, click on New Record to begin. This tab allows you to enter additional costs that are expected at the time of goods receipt, such as freight, duties, or handling charges. These costs are important because they are considered during the final cost calculation of the products. Here, the first field you'll see is Cost Distribution Type. This determines how the landed cost will be distributed across the products in the order. You have several options. Quantity distributes cost based on the number of units line, applies cost to a specific line only. Cost distributes proportionally based on product cost. Weight distributes based on the weight of each product volume. Distributes based on product volume. These distribution methods are explained in more detail in the dedicated costing training session. For now, we'll proceed with quantity as the distribution method. Next, select the appropriate cost element. In our case, we'll choose freight charge. Then enter the amount. Here, we'll enter 2,000, which will be allocated across products based on their quantity. If the transaction involves a different currency, you can also change the currency and currency rate type at this stage. However, make sure that the desired currency is marked as My Currency in the system. Otherwise, it won't appear in the selection list. Once all details are entered, click Save Record to save the expected landed cost entry. Once the purchase order record is completed, the system will automatically calculate and display the expected landed cost distribution. You can review this by navigating to the Expected Landed Cost Distribution tab, which becomes available once the record is completed. This tab shows exactly how the landed cost has been distributed across the order lines, based on the selected distribution method. Now let's move back to the header section to continue with the next steps after completing the purchase order. Click on the Complete Document Action button available in the header panel. Confirm the process by clicking OK. After the purchase order is completed, the order status is updated to Open. The document status changes to Completed, visible in the header section. Now, let's review the cost distribution applied to this purchase order. Navigate to the Expected Landed Cost Details tab. Click on the hyperlink to open the record in Single Record View. Next, move to the Expected Landed Cost Distribution tab. Here, you'll see how the landed cost was distributed across the order lines based on the quantity distribution type. Since the total quantity in the order is 15 units, the system splits the cost of 2,000 accordingly. 1,333.33 is allocated to the Redmi product, which has a quantity of 10. The remaining 666.67 is allocated to Samsung, with a quantity of 5. Now that the landed cost has been verified, we can proceed with creating the Goods Receipt Note, GRN, to confirm the receipt of items. To access the GRN screen, you can either search for Goods Receipt Note using the menu search utility, or navigate through the Material Management module and find Goods Receipt Note under Storage Operations. Click on Goods Receipt Note to open the GRN screen. You'll be directed to the landing page of the Goods Receipt Note screen. Here, you will land on the landing page of the GRN, where you can use the mosaics to filter the records. You'll also find charts that provide visual insights into receipt activities and trends. You can also use the expected GRN and pending GRN mosaics to directly create the GRN from the records shown. In expected GRN, we can see the purchase order record that we just created. We can directly click on the record number, from where we just need to select our line, and click on Create GRN button to create a GRN record in the system. Based on the details provided in the purchase order, the goods receipt note will be generated. If we want to create it manually, we can do that as well, just like we did in our previous sessions. We assume you've already gone through and watched that session. Similarly, here we need to provide the organization, document type, movement date, warehouse, and vendor. Based on the vendor selection, vendor-related details will be automatically filled. Then, we provide the locator. If we want to modify any line-level information like the locator or quantity, we can do so directly from the composite view. Let's complete the GRN. Click on the Complete Document Action button available in the header panel. Confirm the process by clicking OK. Once we complete this record, it confirms that the quantity has been received, and the stock is also updated in the warehouse accordingly. To view more line-level details, navigate to the Lines tab and open the record in Single Record View by clicking on the hyperlink. In the Additional section, you'll be able to see the landed cost, which is also visible on the Goods Receipt Note screen. This can be verified here now. Navigate back to the Header tab. Once the GRN is completed, the finance team will proceed to generate the invoice for this particular goods receipt note. For now, we'll proceed using the Generate Invoice option. After confirming the prompt, you'll be required to enter the reference number of the AP invoice received from the vendor. Let's say the received invoice number from the vendor is AP1000012. Now, select the document type as AP invoice. Now click OK, and this action will generate the AP invoice in the system, which will be displayed at the bottom of GRN's screen. Copy the generated record number and open the AP invoice screen to verify the details. To do this, go to the Financial Management module and open the AP invoice screen under the Accounts Payable module. This will bring you to the landing page of AP invoices, you can click on the new record mosaic to add an AP invoice manually. However, in this case, we have already created the AP invoice directly using the Generate Invoice Process button available on the GRN screen. To search the invoice, use the AP Invoice Screen Search utility. Simply enter the invoice number and press Enter. The system will display the invoice accordingly. In the DMS document panel, you can also upload the invoice received from the vendor for record-keeping purposes. We will not go into further detail about the AP invoice in this session. If you wish to learn more about AP invoices, you may refer to the specific training videos available under the Financial Management section in our repository. For now, we need to verify the products, so navigate to the Line tab. Here, we can review the product details along with their respective prices. Another important point to note is regarding the freight charges. Earlier, we only added the expected landed cost, which was included in the system as part of the product's total cost. However, there may be situations where the actual freight charge incurred differs from what was expected. To acknowledge the actual cost incurred, referred to as the linked cost for the order, you simply need to add a new AP line using a charge. So, the charge we need to select here will be transportation expenses. Once you select the charge, the Other Product Cost tab button will become enabled. Now, you need to enter the price. For example, if the expected freight cost was 2,000 rupees, but the actual cost incurred is 2,200 rupees, you can now enter this updated value here. Once you save the record, the list price will also be updated to match the entered price, provided that the list price was not already specified. Now, navigate to the Other Product Cost tab and click on the New Record button to proceed further. Since our cost distribution method was set to quantity, ensure that both the distribution type and cost element remain the same when recording the actual cost. In this case, the cost element was freight charge. Now, you just need to select the corresponding GRN number, which was 10000012. Other fields such as GRN line can be used to apply the cost to a specific line item, while the material transfer option is available for stock transfer cases. Similarly, the product field can be used to apply the cost to a particular product only. After selecting the GRN, save the record under this tab, you just need to click on the Process Landed Cost button so that the cost gets processed. If you wish to verify the distribution, you can do so under the Show Cost Distribution tab. Move to the Show Distribution tab to view how the cost has been distributed. In this way, you can update your actual cost by confirming it through the AP invoice. This concludes the process of handling landed cost in the procurement cycle. Navigate back to the Line tab. For recording the actual landed cost, you can either add a charge line directly within the same AP invoice, or, alternatively, create an independent AP invoice specifically for the landed cost. This is useful in cases where the original AP invoice for the items has already been completed. In the separate AP invoice, you can add a line with the charge type set as transportation and enter the actual landed cost accordingly. Once all these steps are completed, you just need to finalize the AP invoice by clicking on the Complete action. This ensures that the landed cost gets correctly updated and reflected in the system, and that's how the landed cost is incorporated into the total cost of the product. Thank you for joining this session. With a solid understanding of the direct purchase order process and the expected landed cost feature, you are now better equipped to manage procurement activities with greater accuracy and strategic foresight using Onfinity.